Yeah, I'm in the lab, man. This is a special video because this is my first video that I've done on the laptop. All my other videos were done on the phone, but this is my first video that I do on my laptop. I got the camera for the computer. I got the computer microphone. So I'm excited. So shout out to me, one step at a time. But let me get into it. Um, the real reason for the male loneliness epidemic. Y'all know I drop them gems. Y'all know my talk different, my swag different. The real reason for the male loneliness epidemic. You're Jim Jones, man. Gotta drop some gems. The real reason for the male loneliness epidemic is because we live in a matriarchy society. And one thing about living in a matriarchy society is that in a matriarchy, men are at the bottom of the totem pole. Men are at the bottom when it comes to a matriarchy society. So it's money, then women, or like women and money, then cats, and then wine, and then shopping, and then food. All right, so it's women, food, you know what I'm saying, iPhones, fucking nail appointments, high heels, and then there's men at the bottom of that. That's pretty much where we at right now. So in the matriarchy, the men are at the bottom, and by men being at the bottom, we feel it because we feel isolated from our women as a whole. You know, when the scriptures say um that he made man a helpmeet, how he took Eve from the rib of Adam and made Eve, because the scripture says it's not good for man to be alone, so he made him a woman. When I read that scripture, I don't look at it as like a man shouldn't be alone, as in individually a man shouldn't be alone. I look at that as like man as a whole shouldn't be alone. Like it shouldn't just be men on this earth. We needed something to complement us. So he made man, then he made woman. And so that's why it's good for the woman to be here, because it's not good for a man as a whole to be alone. I hope that helicopter isn't interfering with my video. But yeah, it's not good for men to be alone. So by men being in a matriarchy society, we feel alone because women don't care about us. They don't think about us. They don't put themselves in our shoes. You know, in the matriarchy, it's women first. So the men are at the bottom. So it's either the man isn't smart enough, or the man isn't enough, period, or the man isn't good enough. It's like the man is the enemy. We live in a matriarchy society. That's how we got feminism. Feminism taught women how to think about men. Feminism said that men weren't good, men are dangerous, this and that, can't trust a man, men can change, this and that. It it taught women to have a low ideology of men. It taught women to think of men in a low manner and have low functioning and low vibrational thoughts towards men. So that's why men feel lonely, because our women don't care to understand us. Women don't care to sympathize or empathize with us. Women don't care to understand a man's plight. They don't care to really truly learn how to respect men. They don't really know how to respect men. They went to college, they got their degrees, but they didn't study men. And so by men not being studied and thought about, it creates an ignorance of what men need and want. And men can tend to feel lonely because they'll have a wife or they'll have a girlfriend and still feel lonely. They'll they'll have a wife or they'll have a girlfriend, and they'll feel like they don't feel understood by their woman, or they could be single and not be understood by women. They could be single and just be tired of the results they get on the dating scene. A lot of men are giving up dating. A lot of men are giving up marriage. Men have been married and divorced and gave up on that. And it's just, you know, when men talk about their issues, it gets sidetracked. It gets deflected from. It gets change the subject. It gets shoved to the side. Think about it. When men talk about women, women deflect. They'll change the subject. They'll pretty much get it back to the topic of the men. Well, the men do this, the men do that. And so, yeah, there's some good women out there. Yeah, there's some good women out there that understand men, but for the most part, most women have the mindset of getting ahead, putting themselves first, and then put men at the bottom. But still, they date them all, and they still have sex with men. They still entertain men. They just look at men in a certain light. And so, when your civilization tends to go in that direction, men will feel that. That's why I tell everybody to read the book called Sex and Culture. It's a great book. It's a good idea to understand culture. It's a good idea to understand civilization. It's a good idea to just understand the past because you want to know how history repeats itself. You know, they try to tell men, oh, just love on yourself, just accomplish your goals, get on your purpose. Yeah, that's true, but when your woman isn't on the same page with you as a whole, that hurts you, because a lot of men didn't get that love from their mom. They didn't get that love from their girl or their wife. They never really received that woman's love. And so by never receiving that woman's love, they get lonely, they get a little depressed or agitated. And they might have a certain idea of women. That's because the women didn't treat them how they're supposed to be treated. And so, as a matriarchal society, as a capitalistic society, as a racist society, you got to look at all those factors and realize that men are just realizing, like, dang, bro, why do I feel so lonely? It's not because you can't talk, it's not because you can't articulate, it's because you haven't really been given the space to articulate. They tell you to go to therapy and then just leave it at that. But, they don't really give you a community to be understood and heard. A lot of men don't know about the men's meetups. That's why I say shout out Transformation RBA. Shout out Scale, shout out Algernon, shout out Justice, shout out Coach James. We need more spaces where men can get together. Shout out Cheats. He had a movement where he had a situation where the men had got together. Shout out Noah. Shout out Noah. Oh, they had a space for men to get together, and I feel like men need that space to get together to talk things out with other men. But men also need women as a whole to support them and support us. Men need women to be there for us, to understand us, to help us, so we can help and guide them. So the matriarchy and feminism teaches against the family. And so while feminism and the matriarchy teaches against the family, the woman is going her own way because they're teaching against family. They're telling women to go to school, and these women have degrees, but they don't have knowledge of how to be a wife. And so they don't have knowledge of how to respect the men. They're winging it. And by them winging it, they're going with what feels right and it just doesn't work. So that's why men are feeling lonely. That's the reason for the male epidemic, because nobody's really listening to men. Nobody's really curious about men. It's more about catering to women now, and men are feeling that now, and that's pretty much the story of it. That's the whole. That's not the whole thing, but that's most of it. And I might make a part two for this video. I just wanted to get this video out the way because I got the podcast mics for the laptop, and I got the camera for the laptop. So I was just excited to make a video on the laptop. Got some meetings today, got some things to do today. So I'm gonna check back in with y'all. I'm gonna make some more videos. I've been gone for a while, but I'm back. So trying to lock in.